So we're back at it again. Some good news. I have finally received my radiator, which is kind of sitting in there on a weird angle. Pretty much I'm just trying to fit this into place, and it doesn't give me much room in between the crank belt and the radiator, but there is enough. So now it's just a matter of mounting this into position. The holes on the right hand side pretty much line up. This radiator is off. I have no idea what car. This side though, I need to make a bracket that just allows that bolt hole and that bolt hole to talk to each other. So I'm just going to make a plate, which I've already done, but I just forgot to start recording it to show everybody. So I'm making a plate to hold the left-hand side in. This one is fine, and that still gives me plenty of room here. I'm hoping that I can fit my fan, the electric fan in there, and also the intercooler. So we're going to work that one out later, but for now, I've just got a piece of 2mm steel. I've lined up the holes. I'm just going to make this kind of neat looking, round off the edges, spray it black, and then it is ready to go in. Somewhat like that, to hold the radiator into place. I also need to, so if I keep the radiator flush, like dead level, the cap is a little bit lower than the output of the water housing on the engine. So I think I actually have to lift this side up a little bit. I don't think that's going to cause an issue with the car itself, how it runs. Might have to lift this side somehow. But for now, see, I can't have it like that. I gotta have it up like there, which is fine. It'll clear the bonnet, no problem. Basically, I need to get the bracket on and maybe lift up the right hand side as well. We'll see how I go with that. We'll see how it looks once the left is done. Let's get to it. Alrighty, well that's in. Oh, let's go down here. So, radiator, and you can see a little bit of that mount that I just put in there popping over to the side, just so that this bolt here and this bolt there could go on. But it's in. So I need a hose, go from there to there. And then I need another hose to go from the bottom of the radiator to this little bit right there. So that's the input, and that will just somehow, I'll get a hose that bends around down there, which won't be too hard. But there is clearance by about 15 mil. Which is good. It's all the clearance it needs. But that's in place, so I am happy. What's next? Maybe we can try and get this intercooler mounted into place. Basically I got the radiator and the fuel tank back finally. Big shout out to Rad28 in Burley again. He held both of these items there for me for longer than what I was expecting. But they've come out really good, and I just have to fit them in now. So yeah, Rad28 did a mad job. Intercooler time, I think, because now the radiator's in place, is that job sorted. I can run the pipes and fill it with water. The intercooler needs to fit in there somehow, so that's going to be a fiddly step. I'm going to make some brackets up for that, I'm sure, but let's see how we go. Hurrah! Fan is in. So electric fan's been mounted in place, which is great. I'll hook these up to something when I figure out what it is they need to hook up to. Probably some thermo switch or whatever. I might even run it full time. Don't know. I'll work that out later when I need to. But basically, yeah, that's in. The little radiator support, sorry, the fan support bolts do pop out a little bit back in. And if I really, really care about it, I could just cut them off with a file. But they're actually not in the way of any belts. They will give clearance from the pulley belt, which is good, so they're not actually going to cause a problem. Even when the engine wobbles around, they'll be free, but I might chop them down anyway just because I don't like having those big ugly bolts there. So pretty stoked that's in. Now that gives me this whole gap here, I guess, to start playing around with fitting the intercooler into position. So that's going to be my next step. Alrighty, so underneath my radiator support beam, there's two bolts already in place, which would have been for the metal, I don't know, little stone guard protector thing that goes under here. So if I ever find this piece, I can put it back on the car. The beautiful thing is these two little holes here are already mounted into place. So I'm going to try and use these to mount the intercooler base into place. Alright, so these are the two bolts off the bottom of the intercooler. I'm pretty much just going to get a piece of metal like this. This has been bent. I might even straighten it out. And they're just going to go on like this and bolt onto the underside of that support beam. And that should take the main weight of it, keep it in place. And then after that, I'll work out how I'm going to mount the top, because there's no real mounting points up there anywhere. But let's just see if I can get it in place. It's also, I was going to have the intercooler piping on the bottom of the car, so it would be like this, would be flipped upside down so that the pipes would be on the bottom and come out the bottom left and right, which is a cool look because you can kind of just see those little flexible pipes that run up in the bottom of the car. But it's actually going to be better and easier for me to get the pipes in if they're at the top. I can go straight from, say, here, which is that pipe outlet, straight into that hole there, which I might have to make a bit bigger, but it's going to be far more accessible there for me on both of these sides. So let's see if I can cut up some pieces of steel and make a couple of brackets. Alrighty, so I'm just going to quickly pop in these mounts. Just so they can kind of hang in place for now. And then I'll mark where I need to drill the second holes on them once the intercooler is sitting where it needs to sit. Something like that. Going on. Bend these out. Alright, so we got the holes drilled. I hope they're where they need to be. Now we have to redo it. Slide that sucker up in position. Put these out. Yo! Put that bolt there. Alrighty. So that is in place. That's good. That is really good. It's a tad wobbly, but I'm not too fussed about that right now because I still have to do the top mounts. These are quick tighten. Now it is in alloy, so you don't have to do this strong. Last thing I want to do is strip out aluminium bolt. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, as far as... Okay, so I'll show you what's going on top here. Alright, so... They're in place. Right there, running back. And right there, running back, which is wonderful. So now it's just a matter of getting the top ones mounted into place, which is good because it fits underneath this little lip here. And still most of the air gets in through the bottom underneath the bumper. I know there'll be a number plate there, but it'll still work pretty well, and a lot of air is going to come in through the radiator. I was a bit worried that the intercooler would be sitting directly in front of the radiator, but it's not, so I'm happy with that. And you'll still be able to see a little bit of the intercooler out the bottom of the car. Hopefully when that front lip there goes on across the front, it should cover most of the lower radiator, and that is sitting low right now, so that will be lifted up about 1 inch. But let's figure out what I'm going to do with the top. I might leave these supports here and use them and try and get them up to these holes here. I might just make extenders and lift them from there to there and really lift that up high so it's firm in place, because this bracket's going to be strong as. So let's give this a go. So basically I've bent these up to kind of just fit nicely. Just going to cut them off, drill the holes, and that should work really well. Alright, back to it. I'm going to give these a bit of paint first, actually. Ta-da! Alright, let's get these suckers into position. And there we have it. This bit here is not the straightest in the world, but I really don't care. The whole thing can probably move to the left just because of the way it's mounted. But I'm really happy with that. This is really solid. Like there's no movement in that whatsoever, which is awesome. The radiators on little rubber mounts. But this is great. This is in position. That's awesome. look at it. I might just quickly grab that lower rail and see what I need to do to that, because I have a very, 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 very strong feeling this is going to get cut up because of that. Let's have a look. Alright, so pretty much that's going to be its position. I can, and basically this is going to be cut up. I'm going to cut that little lip off right there where my pinky finger is pointing and make that flush with the bend. Cut this whole little flappy bit off completely and cut it all the way across. And that'll give me that extra, oops, see up there I'm missing like an inch worth of room for it to bolt on, and that's the same with that side there, about an inch of room, and that's my inch right there. So I wonder if I'm going to do that now. I probably should, seeing as I'm here working on it. Yeah, we'll give it a go. We'll cut this sucker up. Alright, so that's been cut out. And looking all like it might fit. I made a boo-boo there, but I don't care. Let's see if this thing fits. That is actually really good. Oh, right. That's on. Well, there's a little bit just on there because I haven't, there's a little hole there and a little hole there. I've put the first bolt in but not the top one because it's going to come off anyway. That's in place. It's actually in place. And I haven't had to do any major modifications to the front lip. Just cut a little gap out here. I probably didn't have to cut all the way to the front, but whatever. That's cool. When that other bolt's on, that's going to be really tight. This just sits where my finger's touching underneath the radiator, underneath the intercooler support. So that's really cool. There is a little tiny tab under. Oh, I just stopped recording accidentally. There's a little tiny tab just here, which it begs to be bolted to something. I think just for the sake of it being in place, I can easily just run a another piece of steel from there to there and just self-tap that straight into the bottom of that plate there, and that'll hold even the front chin spoiler in place. I'll just flatten this out a little bit, or maybe just bend a bit of steel. So I'm really chuffed with that, and there's still plenty of air that's going to hit that intercooler. I know the number plate will be down here as well, but you know, what can you do on cars like this? I'm not gonna, you know, I can't just chop the whole thing to pieces. It would look a bit funny. If it wants to sit up like that, it can, but I like it just down a bit. So that's really cool. That is going to work. So with the bonnet on, it's going to look pretty beast. And that, like I said, that intercooler will be sprayed black. I don't want it to look like there's a big intercooler on the front of it. That way people can leave me alone. But I'm really happy with that. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I think the next step is going to be getting all my plumbing sorted out. Now that I have the radiator, the intercooler in place, I need to run plumbing for the intake and outtake manifold to go to and from the intercooler. I've got my airflow meter that needs to sit here. There's the air intake. I need to plumb my radiator in so then I can fill it with water. I need to plug my electric fan in somehow. I'm considering putting the fan on a switch or putting the fan just straight onto the ignition, because I'm talking out my butt right now because I don't know really how it works. I'm pretty sure that there's a switch somewhere that will allow that fan to turn on when the thermostat turns on, but I'll have to research that. If I can't figure it out, I'll just have it on constantly. I'd rather it on constantly anyway, in a weird way. It's, just knowing there's always going to be airflow going through the radiator, because I think the radiator is a little bit small for the engine. A 2-litre twin turbo is going to make a little bit of heat. We'll see how I go with that though. I'm stoked. I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I think that's going to do me for today. I have mounted that in position. Again, that looks nice and ugly, but whatever. I should have actually gone from that bolt with one piece of metal straight to there, but I made use of what I had and it works fine, so I'm just going to leave it. There's going to be a grill that sits across the front of that anyway, which is actually a good thing to check right now. Here's my grill with dust all over it, so it looks orange, not black. That goes this way. Oh, it fits like a glove still. Yeah, not a problem. It's not sitting straight though. Yep, so that's going to fit fine. And with the bonnet on, it'll look sick. So yeah, chuffed. Don't know what I'm going to do next. We'll figure it out later.